Everybody remember where you were that night? Or that morning, I guess. 2 o'clock in the morning, we're still bouncing around. But welcome, Chase, to Fairview Knox. And we're going to talk about you today and some of your experiences. But my balcony people up here, it's a lot different down here. Just so y'all know, it's a lot harder to see, but that balcony's a little bit different. But anyway, Pastor asked me a couple weeks ago to do this, an interview, and I'm thinking, I was sitting at Kobe's eating Japanese, and I'm thinking, well, I can't say no. But, started thinking about it and talking football, man. I can talk football all day. Being the head coach up at the high school about 2 miles away, and so we can talk football all day and then sort of share some of our experiences together. So tell us a little bit about your background growing up and, just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. First off, I just want to say I'm so happy to be back in Knoxville. To have the opportunity to come back out here has just been such a blessing, and I feel it feels like a second home to me as well. And also, if you can't tell, I woke up this morning and seemed to have lost my voice, so I apologize for that, but I'll push through it here. But yeah, I grew up in Southern California, born and raised in Orange County in particular, about an hour south of Los Angeles. Grew up playing all sports, but soccer was really my main sport. And from there, kind of around 6th grade, progressed into kicking, and then, ended up kicking at my high school, and I played at Mater Dei High School. For those of you that follow college football, or high school football, you may have heard of it. We've had 3 Heisman Trophy winners, one of them being Bryce Young, actually, funny enough. But, and then had the opportunity to walk on to USC and earn a scholarship there, and then had the most amazing opportunity to transfer out here to Tennessee, and yeah, it was awesome.
That's awesome. That's cool. Speaking of Heisman Trophy, we have in the Gibbs community, we have a Division II Heisman runner-up. He's actually on my staff now, played running back at Gibbs, Andy Hibbett. So that's our claim to fame there is Andy Hibbett, awesome. And we've got him back. So this is his first year back. But, I know football family is important to you. I know for me as a coach, it's football time, and that's what we do every day. There's no days off. There's no, practice may end at 6 or 7, but we don't stop football, man. It's every day, all day. But talking about football family, one of the things, we had a scrimmage here Friday night, and one of the things we talked about to our team beforehand was commitment. And just tell us how that is important as far as having team success, of being committed to the team, and how that's important, just to be successful as a team.
Yeah, it's extremely important, especially playing a team sport like football. Like the guys you go out there with, they're your brothers, man. They're your family, and to have making sure everyone has each other's back and everyone has got that full buy-in and fully committed to one another, that really helps with success of the football team. I feel like that's why these past years at Tennessee we've had a good amount of success, is the staff really created that family atmosphere and that commitment, that buy-in. And with Coach Heupel, him leading, and he's like a player's coach. He's the most amazing coach I've been around. So fun to play for him. He really creates that genuine buy-in, and you want to go into the facility every single day, even though it's a grind, but you want to go in, you want to play for Coach Hype, you want to play for your teammates around you. So yeah, really commitment is a huge part of it.
Yeah, I think commitment ties into a lot of our jobs and a lot of stuff what we do every day, and if we can't be committed, then it's hard to be successful. Everybody's always heard there's no I in team. And I was here the first service, sort of watched, some of the videos and how that went, and I started thinking as a coach, we say all the time there's no I in team, and just how, if you all had not won that game, would that kick be really relevant at this point? So again, it goes back to team, and the guys blocking up front, and you had a lot of success and a lot of notoriety in that kick, but it took your team to make sure they blocked and did everything they were supposed to, so that not only you could be successful, but the team. So I think that's something, to the young people here and playing on teams, or even at work, being a team player. And I think that's something obviously you do and that you bring to the table. And moving on, and I'm the world's worst at staying on script, but we'll go with it. Most of y'all that know me, I'm sitting down right now, but I won't be in about 5 minutes. So we'll go with it. But you transferred from USC out of the West Coast. What made you want to come to Tennessee? What drew you to the University of Tennessee, besides the orange?
Yeah. Well, I think it's the best shade of orange, honestly.
I
It looks
agree.
great. But yeah, I mean, being on the West Coast, I did grow up a USC football fan growing up right down the street, like an hour south of USC. And Matt Leinart was a Heisman winner from my high school. And growing up, I wanted to play at USC, had the opportunity to walk on there and graduated, decided to hit the portal and transfer. And, when the Tennessee opportunity came up, I mean, even being on the West Coast, I already knew the historic significance of the program here and, everything that's happened in this state and how, amazing the fan base here is. And I really wanted to experience that. So that was like a huge driving factor. And also my best friend from 2 years at USC, who actually lived together, transferred up here a year prior to me, was Velus Jones. He was a wide receiver here, plays for the Bears now. But yeah, with him already being out here and kind of having a friend, moving all the way across the country for me, kind of unknown, that really helped the transition be very seamless for me. And then, once I got to meet the coaching staff and everybody that's kind of involved in the whole facility and the building, it was some of the most amazing people I met. So it made the decision really easy.
Yeah. Has your accent changed any? Come from out West Coast?
It's actually kind of
Especially
funny.
here in Quarrington. We're,
Yeah.
our accent's a little deep. And, but,
Yeah.
I went out to California for a visit one time, and everybody kept saying, what? I would order we'd order them off the menu.
Yeah.
What did you say? So how was the accent coming out this way?
It's actually kind of funny. I don't think it changed too much for me, but I was actually in the airport and ran into one of my friends from back home. I was talking with them, and they're like, oh, you have an accent now. Like, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
So I guess I developed in my 2 years here a little southern twang or something.
Yeah.
Who knows?
My daughter went to MTSU, and, you could always tell when she was at school and I talked to her on the phone, it was a different talk.
Yeah.
And then when she come home, this country voice just came out. She goes, it's just easier to talk this way.
Yeah.
But anyway, I agree. It is easier to talk that way for us. So high school, and a lot of things going in high school as far as getting you to where you are today. Tell us a little bit about your high school career real quick, and then we'll transition into some of the highlights of those days and what kind of advice you would give to high school kids. But tell us a little bit about your high school, man.
Yeah, I had a great time playing high school football. Some of the best memories ever. I mean, you get to college football and it's kind of a business, and I feel like high school is the one time you're just kind of like playing with your boys you grew up with, things like that. So that was very enjoyable. But yeah, actually, funny enough, my favorite memory from high school is probably, I don't know if there's any Titans fans here, but my best friend from high school is actually Ryan Stonehouse, and he's the punter for the Tennessee Titans. And my freshman year, I actually beat him out in competition for the punting job. And at that point in time, we did not like each other at all. But now we're like super close, best friends. But yeah, I'd say my favorite memory is I can claim I technically beat out a starting NFL punter in high school. Yeah,
Absolutely. Hey, hang on to it, man. My claim to fame is I coached Harrison Smith, who plays for the Vikings, and we won every game that year, and it wasn't had anything to do with coaching. Just we had a really good player, but you talked about, I don't know if most people know, but you walked on to USC, correct?
Correct, yeah.
The one thing I was thinking about when we were talking about going through this, and I start thinking about, my job as a high school football coach and all these kids who want to play college football or baseball or basketball, whatever it is, they want to play college athletics. And they get so caught up in the scholarship aspect of high school, and I've got to do this, I've got to go to this camp, I've got to spend all this money on recruiting, and just seeing where you're at right now, sitting on this stage, and where you've been at the highest level. To me, one of the things, first thing popped out, and I asked him sitting down here just a minute ago, hey, what was your GPA, man? Because I didn't want to get up here and say, hey, it's all about your grades if you had like a 1.7. So luckily, he did not have a 1.7, but he had like a 3.3, 3.4 GPA, obviously had good test scores, and that gave you the opportunity to sort of pursue your dream.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we need to, even as parents, people in the community need to understand that, you hear it all the time, your grades are important and all that, but we get so caught up in sports that sometimes your academics and who you are, your character, will get you an opportunity to play at that next level. And then it's yours to do what you want. You get to prove that, because there's a lot of colleges and a lot of places at different levels that you're going to have an opportunity to play at some point if you want to. You got to love it. You know that. But I think that's something we need to think about, with our kids and people in the community, with teachers, coaches. Man, if you keep your grades up and you keep good character and make good decisions, obviously it's God's plan, but you may have an opportunity. And so I think the walking on aspect was really intriguing to me. I mean, you get USC. Yeah. I mean, that's not like Carson Newman Division II or Maryville College Division III. That's a high level. And then your story, by walking on, you're here today talking about kicking one of the biggest kicks in history, especially at the University of Tennessee. So I know that's probably not on our script so much, but, to me, just explain a little bit about how that's important to these young people and athletes and parents to understand it's not all about scholarships. It's not all about, I'll get a Division I scholarship, because you can still have the opportunity to play.
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, like you were saying, like when I was going through high school, especially being a specialist also, but I wasn't like the highest recruited kid, wasn't getting offers left and right. So like I knew like if I wanted to go play D1, it probably was going to have to be a walk-on opportunity. So, that's why it was like important to make sure my grades were good so I could have the opportunity to get into school and walk on and things like that. But yeah, it's really just in terms of like scholarships and walking on and things like that. A lot of kids get caught up with it, and like it's really just about finding the best fit. And for me, I really wanted to go to SC and kind of had that belief in myself. And, even though, I walked on and I heard my high school coach told me this later, but the coaches at USC kind of brought me on as they quoted an insurance policy. Yeah. And to kind of go in there and just believe in yourself and show them what you can do. And even though you're competing against a guy who's older than you on scholarship, just kind of blocking all that out and just focusing on you and doing what you can do. And so, yeah, just whether it's scholarship or walk on, I think it really just depends on the right fit, right opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell my guys all the time who are graduating and seniors and they have the aspirations to play college football. We talk to parents sometimes a little bit about, man, I can't afford it. I can't pay $50,000 to go to school. My advice is, and it may not be the best advice, but if that's your dream, you go for it and you figure out how to pay for it later, because they'll give you the loans. And I know that's not probably the best advice, but I'm going to tell you this. I did that. And I was a walk-on, played college baseball, and when I graduated, I mean $50,000, $60,000 worth of loans and all that stuff. But I got to experience something that no amount of money. I'm a teacher now and a coach doing what I love to do. It was worth $50,000 to me. And they're low interest rates as well. So, but again, to me, man, I look at somebody like you and your story. God's got a plan, and we can come up with every excuse of why we can't do something. One of the things in our mottos last year in our football program, we didn't have a stadium last year, and we played every road game. It was terrible, but cool in one way. But our motto was find a way. We said it every day at practice, every game was find a way. And I think, as a young adult or a kid going to college, you just find a way to make it happen, man, no matter what. And I think as a husband, father, we sell that to our program as there's going to be days you get up and you don't feel like doing anything. But you got to find a way to get your kid to school. You got to find a way to fix your wife's flat tire. You got to find a way to go to work. You got to find a way to do all that, or you make excuses. Obviously, you didn't make excuses, and so that's just a testament. But back on script. So you finished your career at Tennessee in college football. Looking back over your career, what are some of the highlights of your career?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great memories for me, but I'd say one that stands out in particular because it was unlike any experience I've ever had in my whole 6 years of college football was actually when we went and played LSU this past season. We started off the game, they muffed the opening kickoff, we recovered, scored, and just kept scoring on them. And, I've never seen it being at an away stadium. I was so excited to experience Death Valley, like how hostile it was. Everyone was talking about it. And we go, and all of a sudden, by halftime, all the fans kind of trickled out of the stadium. Yeah, I don't know if any of you guys were there, but it was, in my whole 6 years, all my away games I played, never experienced anything like it. I remember going up for a field goal in the fourth quarter, and it was just Tennessee fans in the stadium. So before I even kicked, everyone's cheering. They're all excited. We're about to kick a field goal. Everyone's singing Rocky Top. It was just such a cool thing to see, and just a testament to how awesome the Tennessee fan base is. But yeah, that was probably one of my favorite moments and memories.
Cool. Anytime we can beat LSU, that's a good day, for sure. So thinking about the rivalry and tradition of that Tennessee-Alabama game, in your short time here, what's the significance of that game and that game to the team and to Vol Nation as far as winning that game the way we did, going through that process, where we are now, and the confidence maybe the team has gotten through that kick?
Yeah, 100%. I thought I understood how historic the Tennessee-Alabama rivalry was when I was transferring from California, and then played my first year, and then I was like, oh, I got a better grasp of it on now. I understood how much it meant to everybody here, and I really thought I understood, but I didn't until that game this past year happened. And it was just unreal to see the scene after the game, and people were sending me videos of everyone's reactions and things like that, and it was just so surreal for me. And even like it's funny, but there's a lovely lady who named her child after me. Yeah. So that's by far the craziest moment of my life so far. We're actually, I'm gonna be able to. They're coming to California, so I'm gonna get to meet the baby next week. We're gonna go to Disneyland with them. So yeah. So that'll
That's
be
like
enjoyable.
all the Peytons here in Knoxville. I learned that the first service, that everybody named their kid after Peyton Manning. Now we've got Chase and Peyton, so that's good, man. That's awesome. All right, I told you I don't like to sit long.
Yeah.
All right, so my wife's probably about to freak out right now, but that's okay. We're going to do it. So put your lid on your drink there. We're going to move these tables. Preachers, look at the preacher's face right now. We're going to put it back, but I'm asking a question, but I think sometimes, to see it helps you understand it a little bit better. All right? Now, one of the things that I noticed when I first walked in this morning and met Chase, the first thing I looked at was his shoes. Because I thought, I'm going to be up on stage. I got to have some shoe game, have some drip up here, because I probably got people up here that are on my team. Got to have some drip. You know what I'm talking about. So I noticed his shoes. Yeah, I got the dunks on. Yeah. I don't know what those are, but they're better than dunks, whatever that is. They look better than dunks. But I'm thinking, first thing I looked at was his shoes. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. So let's move this table and these chairs, and we'll ask you the next question while we stand up.
All right.
He's getting nervous.
All right, almost got it.
All right. And I'm gonna need a volunteer. CH, come here. I was looking for some players that I might have here, but I can't see up there, so it's all good. Just right. That's good right there for now. Actually, get that out. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, if you don't mind, the question is, if you don't mind, walk us through the last part of the game when you realize it may come down to a field goal to win. All right? So we could talk about that all we want, right? What's CH doing down there? Pick the wrong volunteer. It's all right. Now we're getting into my comfort zone. Everything's going crazy. It's good. But the question is, walk us through that final moment of getting ready to kick that field goal. All right? I didn't know this until this morning. I'd forgotten you'd missed an extra point during that game. And sometimes I know my kickers, if they miss an extra point or have a bad kickoff, they're done for the night. Man, they're over there kicking 700 kicks in the net, and they're missing the net, and it's over. Like, we're going for two. We're going for two from this point on. Let me stop real quick. Told you I'm a squirrel, man. It's crazy. Adriana, right? How did you feel? That's the most important. How did you feel when that came to this point where he's getting ready to kick this field goal? How did you feel?
Some lovely man I've never met before held me up.
Held you up.
I was not able to stand.
Right. It's a lot harder on her than it is you probably. Just like Christy, it's probably a lot harder on you than it is Jeff. But that's the way it is sometimes, Because when we're in the moment, and athletes and coaches in the moment, it's just what we do. Yeah. But the people around us, man, they're going crazy. So CH, come right here. You're the center. All right? Okay, here we go. Way off script. I'm going to hold. You're going to get your steps. Let's go. Right foot. No, you don't stand back there. You get your steps,
Yep,
bro.
I'll take the steps.
Okay, get your
Where's
steps.
the spot? Where we going?
Oh, we're going right here. Sorry, I've got my wrong foot up. But I'll rip my jeans if I don't. So. I'm telling you, my wife is going crazy right now because she knew, Pastor. I told you didn't know. I just didn't know. You didn't know. I can't stay down here long. You got your steps? All right, where's Tommy Wallen at? Tommy, stand up. See that guy?
Yeah.
Think you can make it to him?
Probably not. No. Not without that.
Huh? Get your step. Come on now. Yeah. Remember, the first thing I noticed was his shoes. I don't know if he can kick in those shoes. So everybody put your hands right here. No, I'm just tripping, dude. I'm kidding. We'll put that. Tell me, honestly, how nervous were you?
It seems weird saying, but like you said, like this is what we do. Like in that moment, for whatever, like I wasn't nervous. I've been in scenarios like that, but not quite like that. But I've been in, like I've had game winners before, but it doesn't really compare. But yeah, in that moment, not really that nervous. I mean, if I was watching on TV, I probably would be very nervous. But like, it's just what you do. You know, you kind of jog out there, you know, with the guys you played with, your brothers, and you've done it hundreds of times before leading up to the season and the off season. You already done it in games, and really, like in the back of your mind, you're aware it's to beat Alabama. It's the third Saturday of October, college game day. Everyone's undefeated, national championship implications, things like that. Like, you know that's going on, but when you're in the moment, you don't think about that. You kind of jog out there with your teammates and look at each other like, let's just kind of execute and do our job. We can end it right here. And, yeah, you know, whatever, there's 100,000 people in the stadium watching, millions on TV. Like, you don't really think about that. You kind of block it all out because realistically, like, none of that really affects what you're about to do. It's really the same thing as practice, you know? Yeah. All that external stuff doesn't really affect what you're about to do. So, yeah, weird as it is to say, like, you don't really feel pressure in that moment.
Sure, yeah. I think that goes back to commitment like we talked about, and knowing you can lean on your brothers that they're going to block. Yeah. I'm not worried about it. They're going to block, and I think, you know, in any situation, whether that's athletics, coaching, work, whatever, when you know you can depend on your brothers, you're a lot more susceptible to get out of your comfort zone. I think even as church family, sometimes our comfort zone's really easy. Like that balcony, that's a lot easier up there than that was down here because it's out of my comfort zone a little bit. But when we take chances and you trust your training and you trust what you do, you don't think about it, man. You just do it. So anyway, what about any pre-kick traditions? You sort of talked about that a little bit. I know as the head coach at Gibbs, I tell my kickers, I don't care what you do from 3:30 to 6, just hit the field goal. You can come on 30. I don't care if you come to practice. Just hit the field goal when we kick extra points and PATs or extra points and field goals. And there's been times where I went up in the locker room. I had a kicker. He's at Tusculum kicking right now. He was up there eating chips and watching YouTube. I didn't even get mad because he hit his field goals. But, you know, there's a lot of things with kickers, but when the game's on the line, hero or she's not going to like hanging out with you the rest of the day because everybody hates you and talking about you and tweeting about you. Yeah. But any pre-kick traditions?
Yeah, I don't really have any like traditions or rituals. I'm not really that superstitious or any of that. Always the night before the game, I would always try to visualize myself in scenarios, kicking a PAT, kicking a field goal, potential game-winning scenario, like things like that. Always trying to visualize the night before, and as you're going to the stadium, I would do that. Coach Hype was really big on that. He would always tell all, you know, whether you're quarterback, running back, just visualize yourself, just making the plays you want to make. And then, yeah, I mean, I jog out through the tee, and I would always take a knee and pray before the game. That was always something I would do. And then, yeah, and right after that, it's kind of just business. You're going right into the game, and, you know, anytime, you know, offense would kind of get into field goal range, I'd go over by the net and, you know, warm up a little bit, kind of get mentally and physically, like, locked in, ready to go. But, yeah, other than that, no rituals.
Yeah. I've always wondered, even as a coach, why kickers go out on the sideline in timeouts and kick like 700 kicks on air.
Yeah.
Why do y'all do that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess everybody's different, but for me, it's just a good way to kind of like. I always enjoyed when coaches would like try to ice me or call timeouts because I get extra time on the field, kind of to like lock in and like kicks on air, like line drills, things like that. Just making sure your technique's just kind of locked in, you're smooth, ready to go, and by that point in time, you're kind of warmed up and you're ready to execute. Yeah.
Cool. I've always wondered that because you know. So, hey, let's do this. Guys, you ready up there? I can't see, but let's watch that video one more time, and let's turn up the volume really loud, Mikey. Turn it up really loud so we can get that full experience. Everybody turn and look at it.
Chase McGrath for the win for the Volunteers. From 40, on the way, a knuckleball. He got it! And here they come.
I don't know if you guys noticed who the first person that grabbed him was, but it's a former Gibbs lineman. It's at University of Tennessee. Ollie Lane was the first person that grabbed him. And I'll let you tell a little bit about that, but when it said, "Here they come," I can still remember, I don't know why I sat where I sat that night, but it was me and my offensive coordinator, Tyler Kitts, and we had tickets. Coaches get tickets, and we had 2 tickets right in front of the student section. So when they said, "Here they come," they're not exaggerating. Over the top. And for some weird reason, I had a crick in my neck. So I'm sitting there the whole game holding my neck up because my neck's hurting. They're coming over me, standing on my head. But at that point, I really didn't care because it was awesome. But when they say, "Here they come," that was no joke. If you were there, you know what he's talking about. But, Ollie was the first one that grabbed you that night. So tell them what you told me about what Ollie said.
Yeah, so I love Ollie. He's an awesome guy. But he came up to me, was the first person to grab me. He was helping block on the line. And he came up to me on Monday the next week and apologized because I guess on the TV copy, he thought he was like stealing my thunder, like getting in front of the cameras. And I was like, "No, you're good, bro. Like, it wasn't any of that." But he ended up telling me the reason why he ran up to me like that is because he was so relieved because I think he may have missed his assignment on that ball.
He's done that a time or two.
Yeah.
If Ollie's watching, you know what I'm talking about.
So he was very thankful we were able to get the kickoff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I also learned first service, I never knew the ball got tipped. Yeah. And I don't think, how did he kick that ball and it went through as a knuckleball? But the ball did get tipped, right?
Yeah, the ball did get tipped. It's kind of crazy. You would understand being a coach. The field goal operation time, in college, we aim to go 1.25 seconds. That's what we're trying to have from snap to kick. And, the Alabama player jumped the ball perfectly and was 4 yards away from me right when I was kicking. And he ended up getting 2 fingers on it. I didn't know until that Monday, though, when we watched film with the coaches. And, they could zoom in, and you could see his 2 fingers caught it. And then you can even see his reaction. If you look at the back angle, 47 was had his hands in his helmet. He was just couldn't believe it got through. And the ref made the deflection thing too. So yeah, but on the operation time though, we actually were 1.08 seconds. For whatever reason, I started a little bit early. Alabama fans like to claim I false started, which that is false. I don't agree with, but yeah.
They don't call it. It's not a penalty.
Yeah,
man.
but it was 1.08 seconds. We were flying. To put that in perspective, 9 times out of 10, my holder probably wouldn't even have the ball down ready for me to kick it. So luckily, we were moving on that one.
That's awesome. As long as it goes through, it doesn't matter what it looks like, right?
Absolutely.
Obviously. We got the ball out just a minute ago, but I know you brought the actual ball that went through the upright with you. I know. Did CH give it back? He may have kept the thing. I don't know.
Yeah, so I did bring the ball. If you guys want to take a picture with it or any of that, feel free. I'll be around after this. But, so that's the actual ball. It's kind of crazy how I got it because if you guys, you've been to Neyland Stadium, there's no kicking nets behind the uprights. And so most field goals I would kick would go into the stands, and the manager would have to go up and get it from a fan. But, Yeah, so I was anticipating never seeing this ball ever again because I was assuming some lucky fan would get it. It's actually funny. My roommate, wide receiver, Brew McCoy, he played high school with me. We went to SC and we came to Tennessee together. But we saw on Twitter later that night, some fan ended up getting his helmet, and he was walking around campus with Brew's helmet on. So...
Along with the goalpost that's now in the river, and everything in there was,
Yeah.
I mean, people were taking chairs and everything. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, so Brew had to get a new helmet. But yeah, actually, I watched the TV copy, and I saw, since it got tipped, it squeaked over the upright, and one of our football managers caught it, and he threw it in the bag, and he took off to the locker room, right? And so I went up to him, and I was like, hey, I saw you caught the ball. What happened with it? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'll get it to you. And I was like, no, it was like, if you caught it, like, I don't know if you want to keep it. Like, I didn't want to, like, take it from him. Maybe wanted to keep it. But he was nice enough, and they put it in my locker, you know, after practice that day. And, yeah, so that's how I was able to wind up with the ball.
That's awesome. Where you planning on putting that thing?
I'm probably going to frame it in a case.
Yeah.
I'll probably have some, like, Alabama thing. I'm still figuring out, but I still like. I got part of my cigar saved. I got my cleats. I got the ball. I ended up even getting a piece of the upright. A guy hit me up on social media about a month later, and he had an extra piece from when they were like all chopping it up. So yeah,
everything was destroyed.
Yeah,
everything.
So, I'll have a cool little deal, I guess, in my back home.
Well, maybe you can. I saw we were down there earlier, and somebody was bringing all these wooden plaques that I guess the choir had made, or somebody for the choir. You got one of those too, right?
Yeah.
Make sure he gets one of those if he don't have one.
I ended up getting one of them, so that'll hang up right next to it. Yeah.
Maybe the guy that interviewed you today maybe gets one too, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. That's the perks, right, Pastor? You get that stuff. All right, so tell me what excites you about Tennessee football, the future of it. Just, I know as fans, and we went through 10 years of, it was rough, brother. It was, like you said, these are great fans, but they can be the worst fans as well. And that time, it was terrible. But tell us about the future of Tennessee football and what excites you.
I'm super excited for what they got going on with the program right now. I mean, in my whole 6 years playing, I've been around a lot of different types of staffs and combinations of people in the facility and different guys in the locker room. And it was honestly kind of weird coming in with this new staff because just they are so, like, positive. Like, there's a lot of times you wake up in the morning and it's a grind. Like, college football, a lot of the time, it's really fun on Saturdays and, you know, hang out with the guys throughout the week. But a lot of times you got to do stuff that's really not that fun. And, you know, sometimes going to a facility, like, deep down, you like really don't want to go. But once you get there and you see your coaches and all your teammates, like, you get in a good mood and you want to go practice. You want to go perform for everybody in the building. So, yeah, I'm just super excited with what Coach Hype has put together. And they have the most amazing staff in college football. Not a doubt about that. And, and also just a lot of the new guys are going to be playing this year. We have a lot of positions that are going to need to be filled, and those guys that are going to be filling those positions are, like, super talented. And we also have a lot of veterans coming back, too. So I'm really excited for what the team's going to do this season. And I know for the next foreseeable future, the next few years, it's going to be nothing but success here.
Yeah, I think any football team, and at whatever level that is, when you have confidence and you have some success, it's a lot easier to build on that. And I think that's sort of where University of Tennessee is, and because guys buy in.
Yeah.
Team buys into the coach and his personality, and they respond to that. So I've been to a couple coaching clinics with Hype over there, and you think, you know, the head coach is not going to come speak to you. You just sort of sit at the table, and, man, he'd sit down and eat breakfast with us, eat lunch with us, and just talk football. So I don't think he just puts on a show. No. I think he's real deal, and from my experience.
Yeah, no, he's 100% the real deal. I was super blessed to play for him. You know, like, just being all the way from California, you know, Christmas time, I don't get to go home. And really, college football in general, like, I haven't really had a Christmas with my family in like 6 years. So it'll be nice this year to have Christmas with my family. But yeah, like, Coach Hype invited the guys, like me and Brew were from California. We couldn't go home. He invited us over for Christmas with his family. Yeah. So that was awesome. And then he texted me last night because I stopped by the facility yesterday. And I didn't get to see him, and I didn't text him directly. And he texted me last night, calling me out. He was a little angry with me that I didn't text him to let him know I was in town. So maybe I'll get to see him later today or something.
You should have told him to show up this morning. That'd have been really good. We'd had a lot more. I mean, it's been crazy in here. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about something I know that's important to you, and the biggest reason you're here today is your faith. Tell us a little bit about when you put your faith in Christ and just sort of how that goes with being an athlete and where you're at right now.
Yeah, I was really blessed to be raised in a household where my parents put faith first for us. And so I accepted Christ at a very young age. And, he's been walking with me since I was young and has helped me through, ups and downs of my career, from coming out of high school, being uncertain, walking on, don't really know what's going on, earning a scholarship, and I think everything's great. And then the year right after that, tear my ACL, and it was like a very dark time in my life, and just like not really sure what the future holds. Like I was like, I'm a kicker, like I'm not supposed to get injured like that, like what's the deal? And just trying to just trust in God's plan, and it all would work out. And all of a sudden having to transfer all the way across the country, and nobody really knows this, but my first week in Tennessee I actually got hospitalized for 4 days. I was hooked up with the IV in the hospital, and I remember calling back home, like, telling my parents, like, I was done playing football. And then I already had knee surgeries, my body's banged up, and I was like, you know what, like, I'm ready to be done playing. I want to come home, and being able to, have that relationship with the Lord and kind of lean on that kind of helped me through that time as well, and, and turned into the best 2 years of my life playing out here.
God's timing's perfect. Yeah. Sometimes, as athletes, especially and coaches, we want success right now. And, even as parents, I think sometimes, when your son or daughter or somebody don't get playing time, it's very frustrating. And I think sometimes you just got to sit back and know that God's got a plan, and he had a plan for you. And did you ever think when you were, in high school and in California, Orange Beach, L.A., out there, that you would be in Knoxville, Tennessee playing football? Never, right? So I think it's something we have to be open about. And as parents, we all want success for our kids. We do. We want our kids to have the best. But, knowing that God's timing is perfect. I applied for the head coaching job at Gibbs. I guess it's been about 17 years ago. And I didn't get it, but Coach Conley got the job. And that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because I wasn't ready. Now, in my mind, I'm ready to be the head coach. I wouldn't wish that on anybody right now. Head coach, I mean, it's not the funnest job in the world. Just so you know, I don't know if you're going into coaching or want to, but just be an assistant coach. It's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
A lot more fun, man. Yeah. You actually get to coach football. But, when you think about it, we all want what's best for our kids, and that's, we all understand that. But understanding God's plan is sometimes we have to go through adversity. With an ACL, like you said, as a kicker, how does that happen? I kick because I shouldn't be getting hurt. Yeah. But you go through adversity and you go through things to make you a better person, a better athlete, whatever that might be, so that one day we're on this stage talking about the kick that beat Alabama. And that wouldn't happen unless you went through everything that you went through. So I think we got to sit back sometimes and enjoy our kids. And I'll be honest, I've got two that are played college athletics. I got one that's in high school, and we're competitive. When we get wrapped up in that sometimes, and that's a good thing, but to step back sometimes and just realize, man, enjoy the time you got to watch. And, our support, and I'm sure your parents' support, is what made you feel like you could continue playing. But anyway, just that stuff I think about as a coach if when you think about your story, man, is the support is what got you through. When you called back home and said, I'm done, I haven't asked you this question, haven't talked to your parents, but I'm sure they're like, Chase, it's going to be all right, man. Yeah. You push through it. Good things are going to happen. And obviously they did.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And just, especially with my parents, they're very influential. Like calling back home and just, my mind's all in a mess. Like I wanted to stop playing football, and calling back home and have my parents just reinforce me, like, God's got a plan for you. It's going to work out. And, just going through that was tough. And, I was so blessed to have the most supportive parents. They came to every single game I ever played, and that was such a blessing to have them there for me. And it's funny, just after the Alabama game, I'll never forget, the first people I go to, well, the first person I saw after I got like crowd surfed or whatever and got dropped down, I was actually Velas, and he like security escorted me to like my parents, and everyone's crying, like they couldn't believe it. I was like, it's a happy time, guys. Like, what's going on? Like, no tears, but yeah, they're so amazing to have supportive
But if you
parents.
had missed that kick, who would be the first people?
They would have been right there.
Right,
with me.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, they'd be the first people there. So that's cool. That's awesome. Family's important. All right, we're moving along. I keep looking at that clock, and I've talked way too long, Rich. I was worried about 35, but I'm still going, man. Is there a coach or somebody in particular that really sticks out to you as far as, you know, the faith aspect of going through high school, college, or whatever, that somebody you look to as support?
Yeah, I would say for me, my high school football coach, Bruce Rawlinson, he just retired. He coached at my high school for 30-something years, and you know, he was a really faith-filled man, and he had a quote in our weight room, and it was his quote, and it was painted on the wall. We'd see it every day. It was, "You provide the effort, God provides the outcome." And ever since I saw that, I kind of lived by that, and you know, just focusing on just controlling what you can control. You know, just understanding God's got a plan, and you know, just put the effort in, and however it's meant to work out, it'll work out the right way. And so, yeah, I would say he was very impactful for me in my high school days.
You know, when I read that question, of course, you start asking yourself those questions. And I know this is about Chase, but I think there's a lot of stuff that can go into your story. I put in my notes here, as a coach, it's tough. We're so competitive as a coach sometimes, you know, even more so than the players. A lot of times, because like as a player, you're going through the routines, you're comfortable, you're playing ball. But as a coach, sometimes you get more competitive than the actual players. And I think personally, and I'm sure hearing the story of your coaches, I think sometimes the student athletes, they look at the coach and how he responds to situations, not what he says. Because we can say what we, you know, we can put all the fancy stuff out there and say what we should say, but how do we respond to situations? You know, so that's something that I have to try to do better at, is how I respond to certain situations, whether that's something going wrong in the game, whether that's, you know, issues with parents or community or whatever that is. So I think sometimes how we respond, just like missing a kick, extra point. Yeah. You had every reason to, I'm done. I missed the extra point, I'm going to lose the game. But you didn't. And so you just work through those things and you find a way to get through that and rely on your training. But I think how we respond, you know, especially in leadership roles, is how we respond to situations. Sometimes speaks louder than words. You know, and as a coach, you know, that's tough when you got 14 through 18-year-olds and, you know, in like hype with young men of 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds. How we respond can go a long way for you guys on how maybe you should respond. And I put on here, I don't get it right. I get it wrong more than I get it right, but it's something you have to think about. So, you know, even in leadership roles, how we respond, a lot of times, especially with our faith, is going to be more meaningful than what we say. So I know you've had the privilege of being teammates with Hendon Hooker, who's been here, Jacob Warren, awesome guy. They're very unapologetic and vocal about their faith. How did that impact the team, and why should an athlete be vocal about their faith?
Yeah, it was very impactful to the team. I mean, playing 6 years of college football, what's going on with the Tennessee program right now, I never have really seen anything like it. You know, like you said, like guys like Hendon, leader on the field, but, you know, and Jacob as well, but also those guys, they were spiritual leaders for us off the field as well. And, you know, we had a guy transfer in from Florida, and within a few months of him being on the team, he ended up getting baptized. And, you know, and things like that are just so awesome to see. And, you know, we would do a chapel the night before the game. And, you know, we had something similar at USC. We would do that as well. And, you know, we had, 5, 10 guys there at USC. But I came to Tennessee, and the whole entire team is there, you know, at chapel the night before the game, praying together as a unit. And I feel like that's what really kind of helped us have success as well, because not only, you know, we're brothers, we're a family as a team, but we're brothers in Christ as well, and like having that spiritual connection with everybody and being able to go out and know we all are with each other in this battle and going out to perform in front of everybody, it was a huge help.
So it's not only commitment on the field, it's commitment in your spiritual walk as well, right? And when you know your brothers are there for you spiritually, it makes things a lot better. I mean, that's the things I look at there. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to skip a couple here, and we're going to move forward because it's 11:55, and people are going to get mad if we don't get to go eat. So I'll tell you this real quick. Speaking of Jacob Warren, he played at Farragut High School, which was here in Knoxville. Yeah. I'll tell you how good a coach I am. When we played Farragut, I was defense coordinator then, and my scouting report was don't guard Jacob Warren because he's not any good. That's how good a coach I am. He only did catch one ball, but look where he's at right now. I mean, but great player. Yeah. So how has your faith helped you handle setback and disappointments?
Yeah, it's really just going through ups and downs and, my college career. I mean, from tearing my ACL, that was probably the darkest time for me. And, just being inside my apartment, not wanting to talk to anybody and, really just like being in like a really negative place and being able to lean on my relationship with the Lord kind of helped me come out of that and understand there's a bigger picture than just this. This is just a speed bump for you, like you'll get through it eventually and, and come back and, like transferring, being hospitalized, like I was legit, like I wanted to be done playing football. And really, if it wasn't for my relationship with Jesus, like I wouldn't have played 2 years here, honestly. So, yeah, that really, being able to lean on that really helped me through those tough times.
Yeah, and as I said, I've got some notes down here. And I put, as a coach, there's two things that get me through my day, and that's faith and my spouse. And there's a lot of times at night, and even as I'm sure Pastor can attest to this as well, when the day's over and you lay down at night, me and my wife just sit and talk about, can you believe this happened or this good, this bad? But if you don't have God, number one, and that trust in Him, or your spouse, or, somebody close that you can talk to, it's hard to get through the day, man, because you just can't understand a lot of things that go on. But, between those two things, that's the things I rely on. Number one, God, and then my spouse to talk about some things that's went on. And then the thing about that is understand God puts us in that place for a reason. You're the kicker at the University of Tennessee in 2023 or 2022 that hit the field goal, and you're there for a reason. That could have been a million kickers, but for some reason Chase McGrath came from the West Coast to Tennessee to kick, not just to kick that field goal, but to be a part of more than just football. And I think that's something, that we got to look at, and, God's got us in a place for a reason, and sometimes, as an athlete or a coach, you lose perspective of that sometimes because of the competitiveness. But I think your story is just so great. I had a lady come up to me in the hallway after the first service and just say, wasn't it crazy how God orchestrated his life to get him where he is today? And it's just, you start thinking about the ups, the downs, the injuries, the transfers, all that stuff worked out perfect. And you couldn't draw that up. You couldn't imagine that when you're middle school and high school. And so I think as adults sometimes and as young athletes, day to day, have your faith, trust God, and know that His plan is the ultimate plan, man. And it's hard. It's hard. It's hard for that, and it's hard for his parents to understand. For our kids sometimes, that coach is an idiot. He probably is an idiot. But at the end of the day, God's got a plan, and to have that perspective. So it's 11:58, Chase, man. We got to go. Final question. Yeah. Final question. If you could say one thing to somebody today who isn't sure where they stand with God, or if God could ever love or forgive them, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say I could sit up here and talk to you guys about playing for Tennessee, hitting the game-winning kick, all those cool things, and how awesome it was, and all these football accolades and things like that. But realistically, like, none of that really matters. And when it's all said and done, what really matters is Jesus Christ. And there's really only one way to be saved, and that is through Jesus Christ. And He's helped me through ups and downs in my life and times where I was very uncertain. And even now, like, I'm done playing football now, and I'm uncertain what's next, and I don't know what's going to be going on in my life. Going to be trying to get a job and things like that. But whoever it may be, like, you know, I'm just trusted in knowing that God's got a plan and it'll all work out. And so, you know, I'm not too worried about that because I got faith in Him. So, you know, I mean, yeah, just really if you're unsure, I would just say, you know, just trust in Him and it'll all work out.
For sure, man. You're a living testimony of that. And I think sometimes, like I said, actions speak louder than words. And no matter what you do in life, I know these people in this room will look at you a little bit different from this point on. And that's a testament to you and your parents and your family. So we've enjoyed you today. We're going to ask the pastor to come up in just a second to lead us in an invitation. And, you know, if you don't remember anything about today, just remember the last question. The last question, what he said, because that's why we're here. And moving forward, we can look at Chase and know that God's got a plan, and it's perfect timing. So let me ask you one question before I get the pastor up here. Do you trust me?
Yeah, what are you going to do with it? Yeah, I trust you.
All right. Do you trust Tommy Wallen?
We throwing a pass up there?
Tommy, stand up.
All right.
Do you
All right, let's do it.
now bring the
Let's
ball
do it.
back.
Go for it. I need
Now,
it
if I
back,
miss
though.
this throw, it's going to look really dumb.
Yeah.
All right. Man, I can't see you. Don't let it hit Bethany. My wife's right behind you. Ready?
Go for it.
Do you throw with the seams or without the seams?
I don't throw. So, yeah.
We'll leave it right here for that. I'm not even going to follow that. Hey, man, I appreciate you,
Yeah,
brother.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.